I've got a pillow in my hand, folks, because the Angels offense certainly fell asleep, and it certainly put all of us to sleep. I'll talk about a non-existent offensive performance on tonight's edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast.
You are Locked On Angels Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live right here on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel, just as I do after every single Angels game, and of course, after the fact, wherever you get the Locked On Angels podcast feed. Angels 0, Brewers 2. The offense did not show up. They didn't show up for the first 8 innings yesterday. They did not show up for all 9 innings today. I am Gavin Carlson, the host, as always, 4 years as a credentialed journalist here in the Los Angeles area, specifically covering sports, UCLA sports for the Daily Bruin, and of course the Postcast host now. And gosh, there have certainly been plenty of snoozers in this Angel season, and since I've done the Postcast or began the Postcast, but I think this one might take the cake as the most boring showing from the Angels, because for all 9 innings, they did absolutely nothing. Shout out as always to everybody in here. Daniel, as always, saying, yo, no happy Wednesday from him, though, because it certainly wasn't a happy Wednesday in terms of the Angels' performance. Before we jump into this show, we will discuss a great Tyler Anderson start, a relatively solid bullpen performance, and the fact that it was all wasted by an embarrassing no-show from the offense. Before we jump into all of that, a quick shout out to the sponsor of today's show, Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. And I'm Angel also in here saying I'm back. Unfortunately, the Angels remain the same. Welcome back, Anaheim Angel. And yes, the Angels do remain the same. Perfect segue, because I think a lot of people, I don't know about a lot of people, but I think some people, some Angels fans, some, baseball fans in general, were probably distracted by that 9th inning last night, and forgot the fact that the Angels offense did not show up for basically that entire game, right? You see 6-3 as the final score yesterday. You see the unbelievable end of the game where Taylor Ward's would-be game-tying 3-run shot is robbed at the wall, and you're thinking, the national media or national fan base, and certainly some Angels fans are thinking, man, Angels scored 3, they should have scored 6, they should have tied the game. A respectable performance. But let's not forget, and we were certainly reminded in case you forgot, that this offense did nothing for the first 8 innings. Absolutely nothing. And 2 games before, the same thing happened against the Giants, where they did basically nothing. Just two runs through the first 8 innings, and then exploded for 4 in the 9th when they were down 13-2, right? So the Angels have created this narrative, this tendency now to, in a couple of games, do absolutely nothing for 8 innings and then show up in the 9th. Well, tonight, not only did we get the absolutely nothing for 8 innings, we got it for all 9. The Angels did nothing. 4 hits against Freddie Peralta, who cruised through this one and really never threatened. Only 3 times did the Angels reach second base. Second base. You got to reach home to score. They only reached second base 3 times. I mean, what? That is ridiculous. 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position is bad. 6 runners left on base is bad. But I think the fact that you only have a runner left in scoring position twice is embarrassing. That only happened twice. There was 3 times the runner got on second base. In the 2nd inning, the 4th inning, and the 6th. And one thing that they talk about on the great Locked On Angels daily podcast with the Frisch Bros, the Super Halo Bros, is, when other teams go up against a good pitcher, or when other teams just have a night where they're not hitting, they do a little bit and don't score, or maybe they score 1 or 2. But when the Angels do nothing, they do nothing. They do absolutely nothing. I mean, you didn't even need to watch this game and you would not have missed anything from the Angels offense. And so much for small ball. You know, a while back at the beginning of the postcast era with me, I talked about how the Cleveland Guardians were sort of a prototype, a ideal, type of team that the Angels could follow because they had a lot of scrappy players that were good at playing small ball and then a superstar here or there in Jose Ramirez, right? The Brewers, of course, are just like the Guardians, a much more talented team than the Angels, but they play small ball so well, right? It's not like they had a stellar outing from their entire lineup. Of course, Tyler Anderson was great. Only 6 hits overall for the Brewers, only 2 runs, one of them coming in the 8th, wasn't even against Anderson. But they even in a night where they're not hitting well at all, at least once they found a way to get a small ball hit in the first inning, and at least once in the 8th, run in the first inning, and same thing in the 8th. And there was a couple other times where they at least threatened. They have a bunch of athletes, which is something the Angels are trying to do. We know that. With the Joe Adells, the Zach Nettos, even Logan O'Hoppe being a very athletic catcher. We know that that's what the Angels are trying to do. Be athletic, get on base, steal some bases, have a sac fly, a sac bunt, something like that. There wasn't even really an opportunity to do that tonight. I mean, really, the biggest opportunity for the Angels came in the 6th inning where you had a runner on second. After Nolan Schanuel pops out, Luis Rengifo singles. He continues to always get a hit in just about every game. And then Rengifo is able to get to second. This was a crazy inning, so I'll break it down. In the 6th inning, Rengifo gets on. There's 1 out. Taylor Ward gets to 2 strikes. And what looks like strike 3 is called back because a balk is called on the pitch. So the Angels have done nothing for the first 5 innings. They finally get someone on base for just the 3rd time, I think, at this moment in Rengifo on first. But still, should be strike 3 on the next at-bat. Should be 2 outs and a runner on first and just another inning where the Angels don't even make it to second base. But a balk is called on Peralta. Looked like the right call. He didn't get his foot set. And not only does Rengifo advance to second, but the strike 3 is taken back. So now wait a second. You got a runner on second in Luis Rengifo. You only have 1 out, and you have supposedly your best hitter in the whole lineup. That's what he's supposed to be in Taylor Ward, who broke an 0 for 20 today with a base hit. I don't think he deserves flowers for going 1 for 4, but he did break an 0 for 20. But he also, in this moment, struck out right after. So you get a gift. You get a chance to, redo that strikeout. And how do you respond? You respond by striking out anyways on a slider nowhere near. And that's what was the most frustrating about it. Once again, I am not asking this team, I say it every single show, I am not asking this team to shock the world and score 30 runs or, no hit the other team. I'm not even asking them to win half of their games at this point. But be in games and don't do foolish things. And this classifies as foolish for me when you're a guy who can't do anything in the field in Taylor Ward. I'm going to be extra critical of you in the batter's box. And with a full count, you swing at a slider miles below the zone in the dirt, had to be blocked. After you already had a strikeout overturned. You got a second chance and still failed, and failed even more miserably. So frustrating. But the inning is not over because Kevin Pillar walks. You got first and second, and then Peralta makes another mistake, tries to pick off Rengifo, who, by the way, was a mile off of second base and probably should have been picked off, and that would have made me punch a wall because in a day where you do nothing, you finally have first and second with nobody or with 2 outs, and Rengifo would have gotten picked off at second. That would have been infuriating. But luckily for him, even though he is caught in absolute worst position possible, clearly should be picked off, Peralta absolutely misses the throw, throws it in the outfield, both runners advance, and now you got second and third with 2 outs. So once again, what should have been 2 outs, runner on first, becomes 1 out, runner on second. Ward absolutely fumbles it, but you still end up with second and third with 2 outs. And the tying run on third, the go-ahead run on second. Unfortunately, Logan O'Hoppe grounds out. He did not have a great game at all. Probably one of his worst games. 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. Ironically, this guy gets a break from being a catcher, gets to DH today, and you think, you get to DH, you get to focus on hitting. But boy, I guess that's the wrong thing for him because 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. That was really it for the Angels. The 6th inning. That was really it. And that was honestly the last opportunity they had. They did not make it to second base after that. They didn't really do anything after that. Just one hit in innings 7 through 9, a Zach Neto single with one out, because in the 8th, 0 for 3, in the 9th, 0 for 3. The team had 4 hits. And just no creativity, no nothing. I get it, you're not even on base, so there isn't even an opportunity for a hit and run, for a steal, for a sack bunt, for none of that when you're not even getting on base. But like the Halo Bros say, the Super Halo Bros, when the Angels do nothing, they do nothing. When the Brewers do nothing, they still score 2 runs. But when the Angels do nothing, they do nothing. So, in case you forgot that they didn't score and do anything for the first 8 innings yesterday, before that little rally in the 9th, here's your reminder with an absolute no-show in this one. We're going to take our first break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. I'm Gavin Carlson. When we come back, we will discuss the Tyler Anderson outing because it was fantastic. Certainly warranted a win. Certainly improves that trade value, which is about the only good thing about tonight. He was fantastic and all for nothing. We'll talk about that after we take our first break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Today's show is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, I'm into all 3. eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. And today's show is also, once again, brought to you by Prize Picks. I've said it a million times. I'll say it 1,000,001. I love Prize Picks. I love fantasy sports, and there's no better place to play fantasy sports than Prize Picks. It's America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Get in on the daily action with your friends, including me, and become part of the Prize Picks community today. With Prize Picks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. I literally make some sometimes in 20 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. Like literally, when I say 20 seconds, I mean it. Today, the game was starting in 5 minutes. I hadn't made my slip yet for the game. I quickly do 2 things. I run to Baseball Savant, do some research really quickly, run on the Prize Picks, more or less on 2 things. Boom, hit submit. It loads right away. It's amazing. So if you want to join me and those 5 million other members, download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. One more time, download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. We are back here live on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast, and this is the most exciting thing that happened tonight related to the Angels, because the offense certainly didn't bring any excitement. Just 4 hits against Freddie Peralta, and the Brewers absolutely shut down from start to finish, barely reaching second base. And the few times the Angels did, they did absolutely nothing with those opportunities. And look, I want the games to be close, at the very least. And we did get that. But it's almost more infuriating than having a blowout loss, than having a loss like this, where 99 teams out of 100, or 99% of teams in the league, every team but the Angels, when they get this type of starting pitching performance like the Angels got tonight from Tyler Anderson, just about every other team in baseball is almost certainly going to get a win, right? Almost certainly. Because Tyler Anderson, outside of 1 inning, was basically perfect. Perfect. Like, and with all the pressure, I keep saying, with all the pressure of knowing that if you give up a run or 2, you're probably going to get the loss. You already have to deal with all that pressure, and even with that, Anderson goes 7 innings, gives up just 4 hits. He does walk 3, but he gets out of any jams. He only gives up 1 run earned. He strikes out 5. The Angels defense didn't make any stellar plays. I know in the previous game or two, there was an out at home. You were able to tag a guy. There was also a couple double plays, a pickoff play, but nothing like that tonight. Just Anderson going out there, throwing strikes, getting easy ground outs, getting easy fly balls, 5 strikeouts. He walked 3. He gave up 4 hits. He did everything you could ask from a starting pitcher. Everything. And he got absolutely no help. And that is probably more frustrating than losing 8-0. Maybe it's a hot take. But when you have a game where you only give up 1 run through 7 innings, that is probably, and you don't win, that might be more frustrating. We'll go to the first inning, the only inning where Anderson did give up a run, and it's like I keep saying, that lead-off walk is just the cardinal sin. The baseball gods, when you give up a lead-off walk, they say, you maybe get a second chance, but you probably don't. And in this one, he walks Joey Ortiz to lead off the game. William Contreras, who is great, gets a ground ball single, gets Bass and Hifo. Just like that, it's first and second with nobody out. Then he gets a ground out. He gets Yelich to ground out. There's 1 out. Ortiz does go to third. Contreras goes to second. And this is right away Exhibit A. Example 1 of the Brewers did nothing tonight. They had 4 hits against our starting pitcher. But in the first inning, what do? They get a walk. They work a walk on the first at-bat. Sure, it was 4 pitches. But they work a walk. They do get a single. But you score a run despite only getting 1 single. Because what happens? Christian Yelich. Sure, he grounds out. But he grounds out in a way that advances both runners. Ortiz gets to third. Contreras gets to second. That's the difference right off the bat. There was an opportunity, I forget which inning, where I believe it was Pilar and a runner on second with nobody out. I can check that later. I believe it was in the 4th inning where it was Pilar up. Yes, here it is, right here. Bottom of the 4th. Taylor Ward with the leadoff single. He broke his 0 for 20. A wild pitch brought Taylor Ward to second. But what do the Angels do that the Brewers don't? Kevin Pillar grounds out right to the third baseman. Ward is forced to stay at second. And then Logan O'Hoppe strikes out, and then Matt Thaiss strikes out. Ba-dum, da-ding, bada-boing, bada-boom. That's it right there. That's the difference between a team getting shut down completely and a team getting shut down but finding a way to scrap 1 or 2 runs. And that's what we were promised with Ron Washington. At least some small ball baseball, right? At least even in a game where you only get 4 hits, maybe get a walk, maybe get a little way to get to second, maybe have a productive out, maybe do a few things to where you can at least score 1 run, right? But no. While the Angels, with a runner on second and nobody out, just go unproductive out with a ground out and then 2 strikeouts, the Brewers in the top of the first get a walk, they get a single, first and second, nobody out. You ground out, but you advance both runners. You got second and third, and then what do? You get another walk, and this was strike 2, which is really strike 3. Like I said, you do a leadoff walk, and the baseball gods are looking at you very closely. When you have a second walk in the inning, all right. That's what I knew. You're giving up 1 run, even Tyler Anderson. And so he walks Adames. The bases are loaded for Rhys Hoskins, and the Angels are very fortunate that Hoskins hit one pretty well. He hit it 320. If he hits it 380, we're talking about a grand slam and this game being over right away. But luckily, he only hit it 320 on what wasn't a good pitch. A cutter up and in, not too hard, not too inside, right in the wheelhouse for Rhys Hoskins, and certainly maybe if he was wearing a Phillies jersey, Rhys Hoskins is hitting that one into the stands. But ended up being a sac fly, ended up being 1-0, and sure, Anderson got out of it from there with 2 outs now, and still runners on first and second. Sal Frelick up, and ironically, the same guy who robbed Taylor Ward last night with a great play gets robbed of, not a hit because it was in foul territory, but a great catch from Kevin Pillar, sliding, able to catch that fly ball in foul territory and get out of the inning. So this was just a perfect example of what a team like the Brewers does. A great team that even when they have a rough night, they're still able to manufacture a run. And they did it again in the in the top of the 8th. Once again, an inning where not many hits, just two singles, but 2 singles is all a team like this needs to score runs. After the Angels did just about everything in the 7th inning to try to score a run, meaning pinch hitting Joe Adell for Mickey Moniak after the Zach Neto single, and shocker, Joe Adell get out. And then pinch hitting Michael Stefanik for Luis Guillerme, shocker, he got out as well. The Angels did all that, Now they have all these defensive switches. Pilar goes from right to center. Joe Adell becomes the right fielder. Stefanik becomes the second baseman. And Luis Garcia comes in for Tyler Anderson. And poor Tyler Anderson, who only gives up one run, immediately watches another run go on the board. Joey Ortiz grounds out. Good job, Garcia. Then he strikes out Contreras. Good job, Garcia. You're thinking, okay, Garcia's going to run through this one. We'll head to the bottom of the ninth. Maybe another great inning just from a different pitcher will give this very momentum-based team in the Angels some momentum to try to do something in the bottom of the eighth. But no. Instead, with 2 strikes, Christian Yelich gets a relatively easy walk. Garcia only threw 1 strike, and it was kind of borderline. But other than that, 4 pitches, none of them really that close. Yelich gets an easy walk. Then Yelich easily steals second because the Angels seem to always give up easy steals. Probably one of the worst teams in baseball when it comes to the pitchers doing anything to help out Logan O'Hoppe. This time Matt Thaiss. 2 guys who are relatively good at, have a relatively strong arm, but it doesn't matter when the pitchers do absolutely nothing to hold them. And then look, that's all you need. You need 1 guy to get on with the walk, to steal second, and then a bloop single, an absolute jam shot, 54-mile-an-hour exit velo on a sinker way inside. That's what I mean, man. That's what I mean. Look what happens when you just get a little bit creative. The baseball gods reward you every once in a while. Christian Yelich walks with 2 outs. He steals second, and just like that, he scored on what shouldn't even be a single. This is what I mean. Small ball, one team did it, the other did not. And we were promised it for the Angels this season. And we haven't really done it. Let's be honest. Even in the games where the Angels score, it's never small ball. It's Logan O'Hoppe home runs. It's Zach Neto home runs. It's Shanuel going 3 for 4. It's Pilar hitting one of the gap out of nowhere. It is never what we're promised of, Rengifo getting on, stealing second, then there's a bunt to move him over, get him to third, and a sack. That never happens with this team. Never. It's always the home run. And today there was a couple of balls that made it to the warning track, and that's the closest the Angels get to scoring. Not getting a guy on third and just missing out on a sac fly. No. Just missing out for the Angels is only hitting one of the warning track and it not leaving. That's the closest the Angels get to runs. The Brewers put on a clinic tonight in terms of doing nothing, but still getting 2 runs when they do nothing. Meanwhile, the Angels don't even sniff a run when they do nothing. See you in a couple comments in the comment section. I will reply to them after I take my last break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. I'm Gavin Carlson, and the Angels offense is really bad. They fall 2-0 to the Brewers, get absolutely shut down. When we come back from this last break, I will answer some of your comments because you're already kind of predicting what I'm doing. You're talking about trades and you're talking about the future. I'm going to tell you after this break why I think this right here, this series loss and what's coming up in the next few games might be enough to wake up the front office and do what we're all thinking. Just sell them all. Just shut things down. I'll tell you about that after my last break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Today's show is also brought to you by Policygenius. I've said it a few times now. I just graduated from UCLA this past weekend, which means if I wasn't already an adult when I turned 18, if I wasn't already an American adult when I turned 21, I am certainly an adult now. 22 years old, a college graduate, and now I got to start doing adult things, like worry about life insurance. I've hopefully got a lot of life left to live, but I certainly am thinking about life insurance now. It's such an important safety net for your family, but here's the problem. It's so important, but trying to find the right policy on your own can be time-consuming and overwhelming. But I've got good news for you. You should use Policygenius, the country's leading online insurance marketplace. With Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million worth of coverage. You can talk to a team of award-winning agents who will walk you through the process step by step. You can easily compare quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks to find your lowest price. And most importantly, and something I love, Policygenius gives you unbiased advice from a licensed expert support team that, here's the key, has zero incentive to recommend one insurer over another. So check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonmlb or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. One more time, that's policygenius.com/lockedonmlb, policygenius.com/lockedonmlb. And today's show is also brought to you by Tax Network USA. Man, we're just talking all sorts of things about being on top of things, right? Here on Locked On, We pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. We're going to talk about trades when we come back from this break. It's all year round, right? But you know what else is year round? Collection seasons. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. Look, now that I've graduated, I'm worried about life insurance, and I'm going to really be on top of my taxes because hopefully I'm going to have a lot of income coming in. But here's the catch. It's not just income, right? That's something people don't realize. So with over 14 years of experience and an A-plus rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season, maybe on Prize Picks, you may need help. You may need help to correctly file, and that's why you should call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. Once again, 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon, and you can also see the link in the episode description below. Tax Network USA, the sponsor of this video. We are back here one more time on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. I am Gavin Carlson, and the Angels are losers. Once again, 2-0 the final, just 4 hits in an absolute snooze fest from the offense. If you didn't see the intro, I had a pillow in my hand because the offense fell asleep, and I fell asleep watching them, and I think you did too. And so, now I already see the comments talking about it. What do we do from here if we're the Angels? You got the Dodgers coming up next. You get tomorrow off. I think it's going to be amazing. It was already be amazing. There was already going to be so much tradition, so much to talk about, so much to honor. And that was before the passing of Willie Mays. But now, with the passing of Willie Mays, there is so much to talk about, so much to honor. So please go watch that. I certainly will. But after that, we get the Dodgers for 2 games on Friday and Saturday. And the crazy stat of the day, if you didn't know, the Angels have lost their last 10 games against the Dodgers. Their last 10. And I know the Dodgers have been better than the Angels for quite some time. But I think arguably the gap has never been greater between the two teams. The Dodgers, of course, just like they are basically every year in recent years, clearly one of the 2 or 3 best teams in baseball. They certainly are again this year. And the Angels this year, probably one of the bottom 5 teams in baseball, right? So the gap has probably never been bigger. The Angels have already lost 10 in a row against the Dodgers. So call me crazy, folks. Call me crazy. But I'm not really expecting to win in either game. I think the Dodgers, sometimes they don't really have much to play for. Even the NL West is kind of already becoming a one-team show, one-team race. But maybe the rivalry, the freeway series, whatever you want to call it, is enough of a thing for the Dodgers to care. And if the Dodgers care and the Dodgers play well and play like the Dodgers can play, they are going to crush our Angels. Let's be honest. And so that's why I'm getting to this point here. With this series loss, I know maybe I'm putting too much stock into a team that was already 15 games under 500 coming into the series. Now they're 16 games after going 1-2 in this series. But you go 1-2, you have another game where your number 1 trade chip in Tyler Anderson ups his trade value. Meanwhile, everybody else lays an egg. You have a game where you don't show up for the first 8 innings. You have a game where you don't show up at all. And say you, after tomorrow's break, say you get crushed by the Dodgers twice. Say you do. And suddenly you're 18 games under 500. Obviously, I'm not hoping it happens, but say you do. You're 18 games under 500. Then you have a really interesting one in the Oakland A's. One of the only teams in baseball that is probably worse than the Angels. And I'll tell you right now, as delusional as this front office is, every year telling us we might have something to play for, we're not going to sell at the deadline, we're going to compete, we're not going to trade players away, we're not going to get prospects. God forbid we actually do what a smart team does when they stink and get prospects. But I will tell you one thing. If the Angels lose 2 games by like 8 runs each against the Dodgers and don't win the series against the A's, Do you need any more evidence? I think even our delusional front office, if they see 2 embarrassing losses against the Dodgers and then you only win 1 of 3 at home against the A's, the hardly Oakland at this point A's, the other team that's protesting more than we protest Artie, A's, if you don't win that series, hello, wake up, Angels front office. Even they, I think, would wake up and say, okay, all right, fine. Maybe we should actually do the thing we should be doing for the past few years and actually trade away some guys and actually get something. And I know they're going to try to distract us with giving away slippers and beanies and all this stuff for, I think Christmas weekend is this weekend with the Tiger series. They're going to try to distract you with that. But I'm telling you right now, if the Angels lose 2 games by like 8 runs each to the Dodgers, if they go 1-2 against the A's, if they even split the series against the Tigers and go 2-2 at home on Christmas weekend, maybe you lose the last one of the series too to not end on a high note, I think even our delusional front office would have enough of a wake-up call to say, okay, at this point, if you fall 20 games below 500, is there any way you can justify keeping a Taylor Ward? You know, I think Tyler Anderson is gone. I think that's a foregone conclusion. I think literally if the Angels didn't trade Tyler Anderson at the deadline, then you should not ever go to an Angels game again. Like, what the heck? It is the most obvious thing ever. But you're telling me if they're below 20 games below 500, you're not trading Rengifo, you're not trading Taylor Ward, you're not trading Luis Garcia and Estevez, you're not trading anybody, Pilar certainly. You're telling me you're not doing that if you're 20 games below 500, if you didn't even win a series against the Angels, if you can't score runs in the first 8 innings in any game against any team? Don't let a sweep against the Padres fool you, folks. The month of June has been awful. Swept by the Mariners. You sweep the Padres to distract some people. You lose the series against the Astros. You lose the series against the Diamondbacks. You win a series against the Giants, but you're embarrassed in the last game. And then you lose a series against Milwaukee. You're going to get crushed twice by the Dodgers. And you better win 5 of the 7 against the A's and Tigers, or it is absolutely no-brainer. So I'm finally going to end this postcast by answering some of the comments because we're already talking about trades. Fut Alex in here saying Anderson did great, but the offense didn't feel like playing. Exactly. That's why I had the pillow out, folks. They did not even show up. They did not even get creative like the Brewers did tonight. He says, do you guys trust the Angels getting good trades? I certainly don't. And that's why I think it takes getting blown out by the Dodgers and losing more than you'd expect against the A's and Tigers for this team to actually even consider doing good trades. I think Fut Alex is saying, even if they do finally say to sell at the deadline, do you trust them to actually make good trades? I don't know. Anaheim Angel says, I don't trust Perry getting anything good for Tyler Anderson. Like our players, Perry hasn't shown he can do his job. Wow. Like our players. That's kind of a perfect comment. Fut Alex saying, yeah, I agree, which makes me want to keep Anderson, but he's a great trade. But we have no good scouting. There's no way you keep Anderson. There's absolutely no way. The ERA is now sub 2.48. You're telling me, even like they were saying on the broadcast, a team like the Brewers, trade him to the Brewers. Trade him to anybody that needs a pitcher that's even remotely competing and get a couple guys back. They don't need to be guys that are going to play in this season. They can be guys that you are ready for next year, for the year after. This team has no future. We know that. Roger jumping in saying their pitcher pitched a gem. We played a first place team extremely well. There are games you just lose. I don't know if I agree. I'll be honest, Roger. I get what you're saying. Peralta is a great pitcher, but he hasn't been that great this year. The ERA, even after this outing, is still above 4. He was 4-4 coming today. He had 2 bad starts in June, I believe. The ERA was over 7 in the month of June. He pitched a gem, but when Tyler Anderson pitches a gem, it's because he pitched a gem. It's because he went up against a good lineup and is just playing really well. When Freddie Peralta pitches a gem against the Angels, he was just competent and the Angels were not. That's my theory. That's my conclusion, at least. Certainly, statistically, it's a gem. Even the way he pitched, maybe it was a gem. But you can't say that the fact you're playing a Angels lineup that is rolled over in the first 8 innings of just about every game did not play a factor. But Alex saying, I want them to trade Adele and Taylor Ward and maybe Nolan, but pitching is more necessary. I don't think you can trade Nolan Schanuel right now. His value is not there at all. He's having a bad season, so the trade value is nowhere near where it should be, and he's also your future. I still think he's your future. Too early to give up on him. I think Adele is a more interesting one, but still probably not a trade because same thing. The value is about as low as it can get. Taylor Ward, the value is not great, and that's why every single game you really need Taylor Ward to do well so that you can trade him for something. But I think regardless, you get rid of him because he doesn't contribute enough to this team to justify being one of the highest paying players, to justify being one of the oldest players. Anaheim Angels saying, Roger, that's true. Sucks either way not to get any runs. I agree. BC in here just saying hello. They're talking about the Dodgers. And finally, Fun Alex saying, would you trade Adele and Nolan? I just answered that. No, I would not trade either because sure, neither are playing well, but that's how trades work. If neither guy's playing well, you're not going to get much for them. And Nolan Shanuel has more value to the Angels right now than to any other team. And same with Joe Adele. They're two guys that are not playing well right now, could maybe play well in the future, and that's all the Angels are worried about. So we got through all the comments. Shout out to all of you. I love the comments. And that's why even though I'm well over time, like I continue to be, even though I have promised everybody, including the people at Locked On, that I will get this show closer to 30 minutes. I was there, but then I had to read all your comments, and I'm fine with that. So I read all your comments. We talked about the Angels going forward. Can also give you an extra long show because the Angels don't play tomorrow. But with all that being said, the Angels did not show up. At least offensively, they did not. They wasted a Tyler Anderson gem, but at least Tyler Anderson protected his trade value, and that's about the only positive thing we can have. And I don't know if this is a positive thing for you, but I think I'm ready for a day off. I think I'm ready to take a break from watching the Angels for a day tomorrow. Watch the Rick Wood game instead. Honor the Negro Leagues, honor Willie Mays, and then worry about the Dodgers on Friday and Saturday. And oh, one more thing. I might have something special for you guys on Friday and Saturday. Not confirmed yet, but maybe. So be on the lookout for that. But certainly, regardless, I will be here after those games against the Dodgers on Friday and Saturday, and you better be as well. So with all that being said, I'm Gavin Carlson. Angels fall 2-0. This was the Locked On Angels postcast live on the Locked On Angels, Okay, we're gonna do that over because I like ending things on a strong note. I am Gavin Carlson. The Angels lose 2-0. This was the Locked On Angels postcast live on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel and after the fact wherever you get your Locked On Angels podcast feed. So long, everybody. Have a good night, and I will see you all for the Dodgers games on Friday and Saturday. Take care, everybody.